Good day, learners, listeners, students all over the world. For our Today Economics online class, we shall be discussing about branches of economics. Now, I started this topic in my previous class, online class, Encounter. I started branches of economics, and I let us to know that there are two major branches of economics. Number one is applied economics, and number two is theoretical or traditional economics. To the glory of God, I've dealt with the applied economics aspect. So here we are for our traditional or theoretical economics. Now, what do you mean by traditional or theoretical economics? This is a branch of economics that is paired into two, where we have Roman figure 1 to be microeconomics, that is M-I-C-R-O economics, microeconomics. Roman figure 2 is macroeconomics, that is M-A-C-R-O economics, right? Now, these two words are Latin words, macro and micro. The word micro has to do with something that is small, and the word macro means something that is large. Now, what do we mean by microeconomics? Microeconomics may be defined as a traditional or theoretical branch of economics that study the interactions of individual household and firm in the markets. Let me take that again. Microeconomics may be defined as a traditional branch of economics that study the interaction of individual household and firm in the market. Now, based on this definition, you will discover that I noted two key words, individual household and firm. Let me just add this. There is making three markets, right? There is what is the correlation or what is the interaction of individual household and firm in the markets. That is the major concern of microeconomics, right? You know, when we mention household, it means those consumers that purchase goods and services. And when we mention firm, this is an economic unit that is responsible for the production of goods and services. So the interaction between the individual household and the firm in the markets, right? That is what microeconomics is concerned about. Now, we have areas of microeconomics. Number one is the consumer's behavior. Yes, it's a case study under microeconomics. When we mention consumers' behavior, we are talking about the rationality of consumers, how consumers do normally respond to incentives or to price or other parameters that determines the level of price of goods and services. Now, there is a case study in economics called consumers' behavior that talks about utility. You know, utility has to do with the level of satisfaction that is being derived by an individual while consuming goods and services. So it talks about that. Number two inclusion of microeconomics is the concept of demand and supply. You know that demand may be defined as the quantity of goods and services that are being consumed, right? Or we may say that demand may be defined as the quantity of goods and services a consumer is willing and able to buy for a given price at a particular point in time. So we also have supply aspect as the quantity of goods and services a producer is able to produce or to offer for sale for a given price at a particular point in time. So the case study of demand and supply is broadly discussed under microeconomics. So we also have number three inclusion of microeconomics. We have the theory of firm. That is how firm maximize their costs, how they maximize their resources, their limited resources, right, in order to maximize profits. Do you get it right? So we also have another case study under microeconomics, the likes of the theory of production. Yes, the theory of production is also an inclusion of microeconomics. And we have a lot of inclusions of microeconomics. Is that taken? But to mention a few, I've mentioned like 3 or 4. I've mentioned consumers' behavior, the concept of demand and supply, the theory of firms. Yes, we also have the theory of cost and revenue. It's also discussed in what's it called, in microeconomics as well. So those are inclusions of microeconomics. Now I would now like to proceed to the second aspect of theoretical branch of economics. Right now, you know, I said that theoretical branch of economics is paired into two, where we have our micro and our macro. I've discussed about the micro aspect. Now this is the macro, macro economics, the macroeconomics. Now what is macroeconomics? Macroeconomics may be defined as the traditional or theoretical branch of economics that is concerned with the structure, performance and objective of an aggregate economy. Let me take that again. Macroeconomics may be defined as a traditional branch of economics that is concerned with the structure, objectives, performance, and of the aggregate economy. Now, you will now discover that I mentioned the structure. The structure of economy indicates the economic system that are being adopted by a given economy. Is that taken? It could be capitalism, it could be mixed, it could be socialist, it could be, you know, it could be centrally planned or traditionalist economic system. So that's that. So we also have, I also mentioned objectives. Now, what are those objectives of the whole economy? Is that taken? There is the system of economy that you are adopting. What are those objectives behind that notion? So we also have performance. Performance has to do with economic growth and development. There's a case study in economics called the concept of economic growth and development. So the performance indicates economic growth and development. So of the aggregate economy, aggregate has to do with total. So we have a lot of case study under macroeconomics or under the study of macroeconomics. Number one is that of the case study of GDP, gross domestic product. That is the total monetary value of goods and services that have been produced in a given economy for a year. So it is a case study under macroeconomy. You know, we also have number two, the inflation rate. There is the persistence rise, that is the level of increment in the price level of goods and services. So we also have unemployment rate, is broadly discussed under macroeconomics. We also have POP, that is the balance of payment, is also broadly discussed under macroeconomics as a case study. So we also have interest rate too, is also discussed under macroeconomics. We also have circular flow of income, that is a kind of diagram that shows the value exchange that occurs between three major economic agents, the likes of household or individual household, the financial institution, and the firm. Is that taken? So and a lot. Do you understand? So we have a lot of inclusions under macroeconomics. Is that taken? So that is that. So I would like to establish difference between micro and macroeconomics. You see, the word micro, as it sounds, it means small. When you observe your economy, or when we observe our economy in a kind of smaller perception, right? It actually deals with small perception. But macroeconomics, on the other hand, it deals with large. That is when we view economy in a larger scope. Then we say that is macroeconomics. Now, number two is that microeconomics focuses on individual household, right? But the macroeconomic focus on the aggregate or the totality of the economy. Am I communicating? So, and number three is that the microeconomics discuss about markets. Yes, it discusses about market and consumers' behavior and other inclusions. But macroeconomics discuss about both markets, those forces that determines the price of goods and services. It also discusses about aggregate demand, that is the totality of the economy, right? So the macroeconomics discussed extensively about the whole or the aggregate economy. Is that taken? So that has been the difference between the micro and the macroeconomics. So I would like to stop here. That is for our branches of economics. Now the recap or the summary of what we've discussed so far